Welcome. My name's Karamia, and in this presentation, we're going to look at negativity bias and how being grateful for the small things in life really is important for your mental health. Before we start to look at why it's so important to focus on the positive things in our lives, perhaps we need to understand why our brain automatically focuses on the negatives. It's our natural tendency to register negative things that happen, not only register them, but to dwell on these events. This is called the negativity bias. When something negative occurs, chemical changes happen in our body, which makes us feel anxious and stressed. And this is as a result of the fight or flight response. The physical feelings that come along when we encounter something negative are uncomfortable for us to be with, and this means we take a lot of notice of them, more so than when positive things happen. Negative emotions rouse the part of the brain called the amygdala, and this is the part of the brain that's responsible for triggering the fight or flight response. The amygdala is a small part of the brain which uses about 2/3 of its neurons to look out for bad news. Once the amygdala thinks it's encountered something negative, it sounds off the alarm in our head, which then starts chemical changes in our body. These negative events and experiences quickly get stored in the amygdala's very own memory. The unfortunate thing is, this can happen even if it's a false alarm. Unfortunately, we can't communicate or reason with the part of the brain called the amygdala like you can the other areas of the brain. The amygdala learns by experience. The negativity bias is hardwired into our brains. We look for the negative or the bad things that are happening naturally. It's an evolutionary hand-me-down from our cave-dwelling ancestors. Back then, alertness to danger or the bad things was a matter of life and death. The better alert to danger you were, the more likelihood you would survive when things went disastrously wrong. This actually naturally weeded out people whose strengths was not being alert, and of course we then inherited the genes that predispose us to give special attention to those negative aspects of our environment that could be harmful to us. In this way, dwelling on the bad stuff is our body's way of working to keep us safe. The negativity bias can take a toll on your mental health. However, with all what we've just said in mind, it isn't all bad news. Even though we have this evolutionary hand-me-down negativity bias, there is a degree to which we can override the default settings and avoid negative emotions such as self-recrimination, insecurities, sadness, anger and bitterness. Our ability to do this depends on a number of factors, including, not surprisingly, our upbringing and the input we have also received from others around us whose opinions we value. Paying attention to the negative things in life is in stark contrast to the attention we give to positive events and experiences that we encounter. Positive events or experiences are seen by other parts of our brain, usually our cortex, and because we are able to reason with the cortex, information that this receives does not automatically get stored. Usually positive information goes into the short-term memory, and our brain would then decide if it was relevant to push through to the long-term memory. Usually if it's something small, then our brain may decide not to keep that memory at all. However, we can voluntarily push things through to our longer term memory, but to do this takes us to stop and notice the positive event and to really hold it in our awareness for a dozen or more seconds to then transfer this image from our short term memory buffers to our longer term storage. Lots of research has been carried out into the negativity bias, and the single most important factor in overriding the default settings of negativity bias has been found to be how we talk to ourselves about our experiences. It was found that if you challenge yourself to be mindful of your daily activities and to notice what is important and what really isn't, then you are more likely to have a positive life experiences. Putting it bluntly, you really need to put some effort into truly valuing all the good and positive aspects of your life so that you're not overcome by the negatives. Even at times when there seems to be a mountain of negative things happening, trying to appreciate the positive aspects of your life, regardless of how small they may be, will begin to create new neural pathways in the brain. And it can start to override some of the default settings that our brain has. And this can ultimately make you happier. Some of the ways in which we can start to change our thought patterns include things such as trying to notice when you're overanalyzing conversations that you assume have been negative and distract your mind from doing something positive, like a hobby, for example, or something that you like to do. It could be anything: reading, going for a run, cleaning your house up if you enjoy doing this, listening to music. And a great way to take yourself away from overanalyzing and bringing yourself back to the present moment is by doing mindful meditation. There are a number of guided meditations on my channel for you to use. Another idea is to become aware of your negative thoughts. After an event takes place, you might find yourself thinking things like, "I shouldn't have done that." This is a negative thought and it is not helpful. Instead of fixating on past mistakes that cannot be changed, consider what you have learned and ask yourself, how might I apply that in the future? Furthermore, you could start to cultivate a gentle, curious, and patient attitude with yourself. You could also start to really take notice of small pleasures, such as the small birds that sing to us when we listen, perhaps the friends that we have, or the place that we live, waking up to the sun rising in the sky, or just waking up each day. And also, we can learn to celebrate small victories. These can be anything from getting your poached eggs perfect to something completing a big project that's needed to be done for some time. It's important to remember how much power you have in letting bad comments stick with you or not. However, some people, due to no fault of their own, find this really hard to change their negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And this may be because they have been brought up in an environment which has been surrounded with negativity, or perhaps current or past events have happened to them in their life which make it hard to focus on the positives. If this is you, then it would be wise for you to contact your GP for some help with this. Some other places that can help if you're struggling with your mental health and mind: the Samaritans and Shout. I hope you found this presentation useful. If you did, please subscribe to my channel, and that way you'll be notified when my next video is ready to be viewed. Take care of yourselves and others around you.